Okay, so today what we will be focusing on are three essential subtopics for the bearing selection. One is bearing load life relationship. We saw that relationship in the last lecture. We will briefly recap that. Then we will have reliability life relationship, and then we will have reliability load life relationship. And what these expressions will actually help us to do is to select a specific bearing from the bearing catalog. So whenever we as a designer would have to select a bearing for any application, we need to find out the requirement, which is the requirement is usually in the form of C10 load. We actually see that what this C10 load, it is the rated dynamic load capacity of a bearing. Dynamic load capacity of bearing, and it is a load such that, it is a radial load such that 90% of the group of bearings should be able to complete 10 raised to power 6 or 1 million revolutions without showing any evidence of fatigue failure. So it is basically a radial load that 90% of a group of bearings would be able to survive for 1 million revolutions without showing any evidence of fatigue failure. So if I remember correctly, the PowerPoint slides I uploaded in the Beachboard also have one specific slide. If I ask you guys to access those slides and open the PowerPoint slides and go to slide number 14. And let me quickly also share that slide with you so that you know exactly what I'm pointing towards. So this is a specific slide. This is slide number 14 in the PowerPoint slides I uploaded in the Beachboard. And this specific snapshot or this figure I basically would like to show, it is one page of our bearing manufacturer catalog. So when we have to select a bearing for a given application, we need to figure out the C10 load that we will need for our requirement. So that C10 load, once we know what that C10 load is, then what we need to do is we have to go to the bearing manufacturer's catalog and see which C10 load actually caters to our requirement. So for example, say the calculations that we did, we will see that shortly, some calculations. But let's say our C10 load the requirement comes out to be 50 kilonewtons. Now, if my requirement for C10 load is 50 kilonewtons, then right away you know that I would need a specific bearing which is 02 series of 55 millimeter bore dia, because that has got a minimum C10 load of 56 kilonewtons. So basically that means if my requirement is 50 kilonewtons, then I need at least this bearing, and any bearing that is of this size and above would be able to do the job. Is that making sense to you guys?
Can you repeat that, Professor? I don't know. I kind of lost you.
Okay, so what I was saying that as a designer, when I did all my calculations and I found out that my requirement for C10 is 50 kilonewtons, 50 kilonewtons. And then what I do, I come back to this slide, and basically this slide is showing a page of a manufacturer catalog. and I have to select a bearing. So which bearing would you select if your C10 requirement is 50 kilometers, 50 kilometers?
The 55 millimeter.
Yeah, I would say that one.
55 millimeters. Now remember, this is 02 series. Now we will actually come back to what the series here means. But this 02 series basically means it has got a bore dia of 55 millimeters, right? That is what you would select, or maybe 60, maybe 65, anything above 55 will do, right? Are you guys with me, everybody?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Now that 55 millimeter bore dia has got an outside diameter of 100 millimeters. See here, are you seeing that part as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if the design constraints are that you cannot exceed 90 millimeters for the OD, then what will you do? So in that case, you will actually look for some other series. So for example, in this series, 03 series, I will see which bearing will help me to get 50 kilometers, which I found it to be this one, which is a bore of 40 millimeters dia. Are you getting that?
Yeah.
So 03 series has the same capacity, which is at a smaller bore dia, smaller OD, which is 80 millimeters. So if my design constraint is such that I cannot package a bearing of more than 80 millimeters, then I would not go with 02 series, I will go with 03 series. Is it making sense to everybody?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is how the bearings are selected. So you actually first find the C10 load, which is basically this load that is represented in this column. Along with that C10 load, there are certain constraints, packaging constraints. For example, there is a packaging constraint that you cannot fit more than 80 millimeter dia of bearing in a given space. So there is no way you can go with 02 series. You have to go with 03 series or something else, which actually meets your design constraints. So that is how a bearing is selected from a bearing or manufacturer's catalog. So that is just giving you one sample calculation or sample demonstration of how bearings are specifically selected. So I'm coming back to the document camera again to show some calculations, how we calculate this C10 load. So let me share the document camera again. So the important part here is this 10 raised to power 6 revolution. This is actually called as L10 life. L10 life is basically the life in revolutions of a group of bearings such that 90% of them can withstand the rated load without showing any evidence of fatigue failure. So this is a standard value that most of the manufacturers use for their L10 life. L10 life is rated life, or generally is 1 million revolutions. So just a first sample calculation we would see. For example, we will go with this load life relationship, and we actually saw that for a given reliability, F times L raised to the power 1 over A is equal to constant. Which basically means if I plot logarithm of F with the radial load on the y-axis and logarithm of the life on the x-axis, then what I will actually see that my data point for the failure of the bearings will lie on a straight line, and which basically shows that the slope of the line is given by 1 over A. A is a constant, which is 3 if you are using ball bearings, and it is equals to 10 over 3 if you are using roller or cylindrical bearings. Okay. Now, what this relationship actually says that if as a designer, I know my desired load is this much, F desired in kilonewtons, and I also have my desired life, because as a designer, I would not be satisfied with 1 million revolutions. I probably need 100 million revolutions, more than that. So if that is the condition, then what should be my C10 load in that case? So using that relationship, this is basically the load life relationship. Load life at a constant, at a given reliability. Generally, this reliability for the manufacturer's catalog is 90%. So R is equals to 90% for manufacturer's catalog value. So whatever the values you have just seen in the catalog, they actually correspond to 90% reliability. Are you guys following it so far? I mean, if there are any point, at any point you see or you find something that is not making sense, please let me know. I'll try to explain again. So everything is okay so far?
Yeah, everything's okay so far.
Yeah. So, okay. So what we are saying that how to find C10, as I was saying that our all objective, when we are talking about bearing selection, our objective is always to find this C10. What is this C10 load? So we are just using a very simple calculation to see what our C10 would be when my desired radial load is, let's say, 100 kilonewton if desired.
Professor, that says roller bearings, right? Under ball bearings?
Roller, yeah, roller or cylindrical. Roller bearing, yeah. F desired is this, and L desired is 10 kilo hours at 50 RPM. So if these are the conditions given to you, can you find me what would be your C10 load for that bearing, required C10 load? Can you calculate it? So I would, so in this lecture today, I'll be using 2 or 3 numerical examples to go over these topics, and I would ask you guys to do those calculations yourself using pen and paper, pencil and paper, whatever you have, because that will give you some hands-on experience of, okay, how to perform those calculations and how these calculations relate to the parameters that we are discussing. So please, I would suggest you guys to use your pen and paper to find out what your C10 would be if your application requires a desired radial load of 100 kilonewtons and the desired life is 10 kilo hours, 10,000 hours at 50 rotations per minute. Now remember, this relationship actually calls this L has to be in revolution. L10 is this much revolution. So if this is the requirement, can you calculate C10? Can you guys please use your calculations, pen and paper, and do the calculation? And let me know what C10 will be. So I'll give, what does it say next to A equals? This is ball bearing. Ball bearing. For ball bearings, A equals, this is a constant. This constant assumes value of 3 if you are using ball bearings, and this constant assumes a value of 10 over 3 if you are using cylindrical bearings or rotor bearings. If I use this relationship, let's do it together. And I would highly suggest you guys to do this yourself, otherwise you will not understand or get the feel of the numbers we are talking about, or we are basically working with. So F desired is 100 kilonewtons, so let's say that remains as it is, 100 kilonewtons. And L desired is 10 kilo hours at 50 RPM. So we have to convert this requirement into number of revolutions. So how many number of revolutions would it be if this is the requirement?
That's 10 kilometers, or what is that, Professor?
Kilo hours.
Oh, kilo hours.
I want my bearing to run for 10,000 hours at 50 rotations per minute. Yeah.
And you want to convert it to what? To kilonewtons?
Number of revolution. And let's say we are talking about ball bearing here. So this has to be in revolutions as well, because in the denominator, L10 life is basically in revolution. So what will be L desired in revolution? Number of revolutions. Any guesses? Anybody taking a shot on how to proceed? Volunteer. 3 raised to the power 10 beta 7. And how do you get that number? Okay, so yeah, any volunteer to help me out and how to find the number of evolutions from these two values? Before we actually go, everybody is okay and getting this requirement, right? I am running my bearings, or as a designer, I would like my bearings to run at this angular velocity, 50 rotations per minute, of 10,000 hours. Everybody is with me on that requirement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody is with me on that requirement? So
Yes.
if it is rotating, if it has to rotate 50 rotations per minute, how many rotations it will do in 1 hour?
$3,000 rotations an hour.
Yeah, so number of rotations in hour. Number of rotations in an hour would be 50 RPM multiplied by 60. That will be the number of rotations in 1 hour, isn't it? That will be 3,000 revolutions. Everybody is with me on that part?
Yes.
Yeah. And how many hours you need to run this bearing?
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours. So that means total number of revolutions in 10,000 hours is 3,000 times 10,000 hours. So it basically becomes 3E6, isn't it? Sorry, 3E7. Right? 3E7 revolution.
Yep, that's
Right.
correct.
Right? So you plug this number, revolutions, in this relationship and see what your C10 would be. It will be 100 times 330 is 6 divided by 10 raised to power 6, or 1 is 6. So 1 is 6, 1 over 3 plus. So it becomes 130 cube root, that much number. Can somebody carry out the calculations and let me know what would be the number? I don't have calculator, so you guys have to help me with the value. So is it 31.07 kilonewtons?
Yeah. 310.723. Or yeah, 310
Right.
kilonewtons. That's correct.
Correct. So now you actually know what your C10 would be for your given requirement. So your given requirement is that you want a radial load for the bearing to be 100 kilonewtons and the desired life is given by this. So these are the requirements from the designer, from the application. This has nothing to do with what the manufacturer catalogs do. So this is basically comes from your requirement as a designer. Now, based on this requirement, what we actually did, we actually used this relationship, very simple relationship, and we tried to find out what should be our C10 load. And we found out the C10 load will be this much. Once you got this C10 load, now you know what you have to do. You have to basically go to the manufacturer's catalog and select a bearing which also matches your packaging constraint. Is everybody following it so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess somebody was saying he's getting 310.7, which I'm not sure if that is the correct, which to me seems,
Yeah, that's what I got.
yeah, to me that also seems to be correct because it is a cube root of 30, right, multiplied by 100, it is 310.7. You have to correct me with the numbers. I'll just go with what you actually saying. Is everybody with me so far on this?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Great. So now you exactly know what you need to do, right? Everybody is following it and how we actually translate this requirement into what the seat and load should be. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Great. Now what we need to do is we will be seeing what the reliability life relationship is. Remember, this is for this specifically what we are basically doing is for 90% reliability. Generally, 90% reliability, as we were discussing last week at the end of the lecture, that it probably is not a good number because let's say you are using 1,000 bearings, say you are working with 1,000 bearings, then out of those 1,000 bearings, you are using in your product, which can be a lathe machine, a milling machine, any type of machine you are working with, or 3D printer you are working with, or you are basically working in automotive industry, you are using those bearings. So out of those 1,000 bearings, 10% of them are going to fail after 1 million revolutions. 10% of that basically means 100 bearings are going to fail. Reliability of 90% basically means 100 bearings are going to fail after L10 life, which is 1 million revolutions. And this is a very scary scenario, right? 100 bearings are going to fail. Now, if those bearings are going in an automobile, and basically 100 cars, or basically whatever number of cars they are, those bearings are going to, those cars will be will be basically down for maintenance because bearings are going to fail, and that is pretty scary scenario, isn't it? Right? As a designer, you would not like that many number of bearings to fail after a specific life. You would like the reliability to be much, much higher. Generally, the reliability designers or we basically would like is close to, in general, it should be close to 99%. 90 to 99%. In general, we work with reliability close to 98% to 99%. That is basically the value we would like to work with. Now, if that is the requirement, how that requirement gets added on top of the calculations we were doing for C10. So we will actually see that now. So before we actually go over that relationship, what we will see that the reliability is defined as, I need to look at the relationship here. Yeah, it is an exponentially related to the life nature. Just give me a second, I'm just looking at the relationship. Yeah, so it is negative. This is equation number 11.9, or basically in your textbook. So what the reliability is related to the life is given by this expression, x minus x naught divided by theta minus x naught raised to power b, where x is our dimensionless life measure, or L desired divided by L10. So it is a dimensionless life measure. So what this expression is saying, out of this expression, x naught, theta, and b are constants, and they are basically coming from the parameters of Weibull probabilistic distribution. Parameters of Weibull distribution. What it basically says that the life measure of a bearing actually follows the probability distribution, and if I actually look at the reliability is related to the life of a bearing, the desired life of a bearing. So for example, if I want my reliability to be 99%, let's say if my reliability is required to be 99%, so we can calculate what will be the desired life using this relationship. How? So if you look at this relationship and try to find, use this relationship to try to find an expression for x, because your x is a dimensionless life form, then what will you actually see that x can be written as okay, let's take a natural logarithm on both sides. So you get ln r is equals to minus x naught divided by theta minus x naught raised to the power b. Which
Professor,
means,
what does it say after?
yeah, go ahead.
It says parameters of something distribution.
Bipolar distribution. It is a probability distribution for the life measure.
And
It is
then
a type of probability distribution.
and then also on the above that it says dimensioners life measure, or what does that say?
Dimensionless life measure. So basically what I'm saying that if I know my L desired is, for example, say L desired is 90 million revolutions, that is your L desired. You want the life to be 90 million revolutions, and L10 life is 1 million revolutions, that is always defined, and you divide both of them, then what you will get x as 90. Right? And that is basically dimensionless. Getting that point?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a dimensionless life measure. So what I'm doing right now is I'm using this expression and finding out what your x would be, because if I can find x, then I know for a desired reliability what should be my desired life. So I was basically taking a natural logarithm on both sides, and then you will get x naught plus theta minus x naught ln natural logarithm 1 over r 1 over b. So that is basically the relationship you will get, and out of that you know what your x would be. X is L desired divided by L10 is equal to x naught plus theta minus x naught 1 over r desired 1 over b. So if your L10 is already known to you, which is 1 million revolutions, then you actually know how to find your L desired, which is L10 x naught plus theta minus x naught So this is the relationship you will get by using this specific expression for the reliability, and what it says that how the reliability and life are related to each other. So for example, if my desired reliability is 99%, so I will plug here 0.99 in this. On the right hand side, I will say R desired as 0.99. Other than that, x naught, theta, and b, these are the parameters. These are constants. These will be already provided to you from the catalog. Bearing manufacturer's catalog, you will know those constants, parameters. And these parameters are such that L desired is equals to L10 for R desired is equals to 90%. For 90% reliability, x is equals to 1. That is how your constants and parameters, those constants are selected. So assuming that this is already given to you. This is given to you, x naught is given to you, theta is given to you, x naught is also again we said that is given to us, constant b is given to us. So everything is known to you, and if you know the desired reliability is 99%, you plug in this expression and what you will get is what should be the desired life in that scenario. Is it making sense, guys?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this expression holds for constant load. So this expression is at constant radial load. At constant load, reliability of a bearing is related to the life. This is known as reliability life relationship. Remember, we were talking about some relationships about the load life. The earlier, the previous sheet of paper that we were actually working on is load and life relationship at given reliability. Now what we are looking at is reliability life relationship at constant load. So at constant load, what is reliability life relationship? And using this specific expression, we know exactly that what would be my L desired if my desired reliability is given to me. So for example, I want my reliability for a group of bearings to be 99%. I will plug in this number, plug that number in this expression, and I will get the value of L. Let me know if you guys are agreeing to this much or you are following it this much. If not, I will try to explain it. Please let me know. Is everybody with me so far?
Yep.
Any questions from anybody?
None so far.
Great. So now what we are doing is we are combining all three together. So when I say all three together, so let me first again recap what we actually saw so far. We actually saw what should be load-life relationship. Load and life, how they are related. Then we saw what is reliability-life relationship, which is reliability and x is life. So we actually solved that expression and we actually get that as L, life, and reliability, desired reliability. So how life and reliability are related. So what we are now going to see is how all three of them are related to each other. Reliability, load, life. So for example, if a designer says, I want a reliability of 99% at a given load for a given life. So everything is specified by the designer. So in that case, how can we use that and combine them together to find C10? Because that is what we actually care for. So let's combine them all together. So what we are actually going to say is that we are working with logarithm of S and logarithm of L. This is the load-life relationship at given reliability. So what we are going to do is we will see that if we would like a reliability of 95%, or anything more than 90%, our life will, the straight line, we will again get a straight line between life, load and life, but it will be in this direction. And why is it in this direction? It basically is because of the fact that say for example, physically you will try to interpret this figure and this representation of the straight lines. The straight lines here showing the relationship between the load and the life. So this is the straight line. This is for reliability of 90%. And I'm saying that if I want if you would like to have a reliability of greater than 90%, say 95%. So this is just assuming a value greater than 90%. In this scenario, I will again get a straight line between load and life, but my straight line would be below this line of 90%. And how to interpret this, what is the significance of this, or how to interpret this representation? So for example, at a given load, so this is your given load, let's say, at this load, let's say this is C10 load, at this load, for a given, for 90% reliability, I know that this measure is, if I'm talking about L over L10, let's say, so this is your X. So this is X equals 1, because this is your L10 line. For 90% reliability at C10 load, whatever you are going to get is L10. So basically this is X equals 1, isn't it? Everybody is following it so far?
X equals
Yes.
F or X equals 1.
Yeah, X equals 1.
1.
Yeah, so this is logarithm of X. This specific axis is a logarithm of X, and X equals 1 basically means X is equals to L over L10. So when I say X equals to 1, L is equals to L10. Do you see what I'm saying? If you are not yet getting this point about X equals 1, you remember the relationship we used just a while ago. This is constant, and basically it means that F desired times L desired raised to the power 1 over A, because of C10 times L10 1 over A. So C10 is the load for which your L10 life is defined. Is it making sense or not so far? At 90% reliability. So if you are not yet getting it, or you're getting confused, let me share the first sheet of paper again, where I showed you that if you are plotting the logarithm of F and logarithm of L life on the x-axis, then a straight line is obtained, and that straight line is defined for 90% reliability. And that is basically means that if you have a C10 value defined, that corresponds to 1 million revolution, which is your L10 life. Let me know if it is making sense or not. If you have a question, please let me know. If you are getting confused about any specific parameter here, let me know. So when we talk about C10 load is always corresponding to L10 life, which is 1 million revolutions for 90% reliability. So what is C10 load? It is a radial load that such that 90%, that means reliability is 90%, 90% of a group of bearings would be able to survive for 1 million revolutions, 10 to the 6 revolutions. This number is called as L10 life, without showing any evidence of a big figure. This is how the definition of C10 load is. So when I say C10 load, for that load corresponding to 90% reliability, the life measure is your L10 life. That's what I'm showing here in this case. C10 load corresponding to 90% reliability, the life is L10 life. L is equals to L10, so X equals to 1. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just copy.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So basically
taken.
what I'm sorry?
Oh, it's just a lot to take in right now. That's why.
Okay, yeah. I understand that part. So let me try to simplify the explanation here. So what I'm saying, assume that you have 100 bearings to begin with. Say, we are just taking numbers to make this discussion easy to follow. So say we have 100 bearings, and out of these 100 bearings, 90 bearings are going to survive 1 million revolutions, which is corresponding to this. This is L10 is 1 million revolutions. L10 1 million revolutions means x equals to 1. So 90 bearings out of these 100 are going to survive 1 million revolutions, and that is what I'm actually plotting here. Now, if I ask you that 90 bearings will say 1 million revolutions, they are going to survive. That is the data point we plotted. Now, if I say that I would like 95 bearings, not 90, but 95 bearings out of this group of bearings would be able to survive how many number of revolutions? So as a manufacturer, so suppose you are working, I mean you guys, and that all of you are working as a bearing manufacturer, and you are selling the bearings to an OEM manufacturer or an automotive manufacturer, and you are saying that out of the 100 bearings we have fabricated, 90 bearings are going to survive 1 million revolutions. Now the OEM manufacturer says, okay, I don't want the number for 90 bearings, quote me the number for 95 bearings. How many number of revolutions the 95 bearings would be able to survive? So what will be your answer? Will it be more than 1 million revolutions, or will it be greater than 1 million? So will it be, say, less than 1 million revolutions or greater than 1 million revolutions? What number you are going to quote to the designer or the manufacturer or the OEM manufacturer?
It would be less than 1 million revolutions.
Is there somebody who would like to quote more than 1 million revolutions?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. You as a bearing manufacturer have fabricated or produced 100 bearings from your factory, from your company. And out of those 100 bearings, you know that from quality inspection and testing, 90 bearings will always going to withstand 1 million revolutions for any type of service life. With me?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know that 90 bearings are anytime, whenever you test it, they are going to pass 1 million revolutions. So you go and you actually go and sell this number to a designer from a automotive company, say GM. You go to a GM company and you actually say that 90 bearings are going to survive 1 million revolutions. But the person at the GM manufacturer says, no, I don't want a number for 90 bearings. I want how much life it will be for 95 of them. What will you say? It will be more than 1 million revolutions, or it will be less than 1 million?
I think it would be less.
And why is it so?
Simply because out of 100, if what you're asking, if the company asks if 95 bearings would survive more or less.
How much life 95 bearings would survive? What will be the life? What will be the number of revolutions for 95 bearings?
Yeah, probably less because
Yeah.
because you already
when you quote
you
this
already
number,
know 90, you already know that 90 won't survive, or 90 will survive, but more than that won't.
but 10 will fail, right? You already know 10 bearings are going to fail anyhow. Will fail, right?
Yeah.
This number, the 10 bearings will always fail after 1 million revolutions. Always fail. Because that is how you got this number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now somebody asks you, quote me the life for 95 bearings. So obviously this is not going to be more than this. It will always be less than this. Are you getting that?
Yeah.
So that is why if we come back to this figure, you actually see the line here. This is representing the line for 95% reliability. That means at a given load, C10 load, if I have to quote a reliability of more than 90%, my life would be considerably less than 1 million revolutions. It will be less than 1 million revolutions. Are you getting that part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is everybody following it? I mean, this is a very key key concept we are learning here, because that will define, I mean, once you actually follow this, then it will be just easy to plug the numbers and get the value for C10 in from the expression. That's it. So that's not a big deal using an equation. But I'm trying to make sure here that you understand the concept behind those expressions, what the parameters mean, why this line is below this line of 90%. Reliability of 95% is always less than, I mean, this line is lying below this line. Why it is so? So I'm just trying to make sure that you understand the concepts behind these specific expressions and what the parameters actually mean. So again, let me know if you guys are following it or not.
Yeah, we're following.
Cool. Okay, good. So now what we are going to do is, we are going to see that our requirement is given to us, our desired, and we know our X desired, that is also given to us. X desired is given to us, and our L desired or F desired is also given to us. So we are given with the load, the life, and reliability. All three are desired now, are specified by the designer. So designer wants 99% reliability, the designer wants 100 million revolutions, say, and the designer wants a specific amount of load to be supported. So we know we have the desired load, desired life, desired reliability. And what we need to find out is this number, C10 number. How to get C10 number if these three values are specified to us. So this is point D, E, and A. So what we have to do is, we have to find out what our C10 value is. And this line is for R is equals to 90% reliability. R desired greater than 90. Whatever I draw here, is it making sense so far or not? And anything that is not making sense, please ask. I will try to explain. Anything that I have mentioned in this, the lines I draw, the arrows, the values, the parameters, the symbols, anything that is not making sense. Are you guys following it then?
Yeah, we're following.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now we are given these three values. So given F desired, R desired, desired reliability, and desired life. These are all given to us. This is basically X is your dimensionless life form. You all know how that is X. X is basically defined as L desired in number of revolutions divided by L10. L10 is 1 million revolutions. So you actually know what that desired is. Okay. So what we are going to do, we are going to basically look at this straight line, and we know what this straight line says. The straight line says that if I say this is the point of F desired and X desired raised to the power 1 over A, that is equals to FB. FB is the point which is the C10 load times XB. XB is this value which we don't know what the XB is. The dimensionless life at point B is 1 over A. Is this equation okay with you guys? Are you guys okay with this equation? It is just the load life relationship we use. Load times life raised to power 1 over A is constant. Are you guys with me?
Yeah, just trying to write it down.
And we have many students here, so I'm just asking anybody has any questions from what we are working with so far. I'm getting
No, sir.
hardly 2 or 3 students always, so not sure if you are getting it or you are just not able to understand anything that we are discussing. Are you guys following it?
We're
Yeah,
following.
Yeah, we're following.
following.
Yeah.
So assuming that you are comfortable with this expression, then what is the unknown in this? If I ask you what is the unknown parameter in this? In this equation, what is the unknown parameter? Can you guys help me to find out what is the unknown parameter?
Is it XB?
XB and as unknown, correct? And is there anything that is unknown to us?
Sorry, what did you say? I couldn't hear you.
What are the unknowns in this? If you have to use this equation, what is the unknown parameter, the unknown variables in this expression, in this equation 1? Okay, let me ask, what is A, constant A? Is it known or not known?
It's unknown, well, we should know, depending on
Yeah.
the bearing we want to use.
That you are working with ball bearings, you know exactly what your A is, right?
Yeah.
A is equals to 3 for ball bearing and 10 divided by 3 for roller or cylindrical bearing. So you actually know this. So if you know that you are going to install a ball bearing, so then you know what it is. You know F desired because this is your given. You know X desired, this is your given. Do you know XB?
No.
No. Do you know C10?
No.
No. So we have 2 unknowns here. So these are unknowns because at this point, I don't know what these values are because ultimately we need to find this C10. That is what we only care about, C10. But at this point, only this equation does not tell me what my C10 is because I don't know what my XB is. What is going to be my XB? B is the point. At this point, what is the life? Dimensionless life would be. I don't know. To solve for that, what I will use this straight line here, which is basically a line representing a constant load, and it tells me that how my life is related to reliability. So if I continue working on this straight line and it intersects a reliability line of 90%, then I know that will be corresponding to X10 value. So what I'm going to do is, if you just remember a while ago, just a sheet ago, we worked with this expression, X equals X0 plus theta minus X0 divided by, using this expression, where we said that we can find our X desired using, if you know our R desired, we know what will be our X. Remember this relationship we just derived? So if you know what your R is, you can find your X. So what we actually do with that, we will going to use this equation. So we know xb is nothing but x naught plus theta minus x naught natural logarithm r desired one over b. This is my second equation. In this equation, anybody have any confusion? Then let me know. This is the same equation. This is a reliability-like relationship. We just derived a while ago. Reliability, desired reliability is known to us. X naught is a constant parameter, theta is a constant parameter, b is a constant parameter. Theta, x naught, and b are constant parameters given to us. R desired is given to us. So if we know everything here on the right hand side, can we calculate xb? Yeah. I would appreciate any feedback, guys. Yes, no, it doesn't make sense. Anything.
Yeah, we're just we're just copying down.
Yeah, we can calculate it.
Yeah, just trying to keep up.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we should be able to calculate XB with what we know.
Yeah, if we know everything here on the right hand side, we can calculate xb. And then once you know xb, you can substitute in this and you can find C10. And your C10 expression would be f desired, x desired, 1 over 8 divided by x naught plus theta minus x naught and n 1 over r desired is about 1 over b. This is the final relationship that combines everything about the desired reliability, the load, and the life. If you are given a desired load, desired life, desired reliability, you can use this expression, plug in the numbers, and you can get what your C10 value is. So you throw in extra factor of safety, which we call as application factor. This is factor of safety, application factor. If you are using for shock loads or for medium loads, heavy loads, light loads, depending on that, your application factor is defined. You throw in that and your C10 value is up. So this is the expression I was telling you, that if you know this expression, you can plug in the numbers, you desired life, and you can get your C10 load. You don't need to worry about how you get this expression. But going through all these details, you actually see what the inner working, or basically how this expression is derived. What is the meaning of this? You basically know that this is coming from the load-life relationship. This expression is coming from the reliability-life relationship. So combining everything, we actually come up with this expression. This is all that you need to calculate C10 for radial loads, finding the radial load. If your desired load is given, desired life is given, and desired reliability. Is everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions from anybody? Okay, if there are none, so I will quickly, I was hoping to actually extend this discussion for working with axial loads and finding the equivalent radial loads for that, but for the sake of our time, let's focus on the example that I would like to show to make sure that you know how to find that desired life and desired load, radial load for a given application. So for example, I am taking a specific So for example, this is a gear and I'm talking specifically about spur gear. So I'm going to use the same example with helical gear later on. When we are talking about axial loads as well. For right now, we are restricting our attention on spur gear. So let's say this spur gear is in contact with another gear from the top, and basically it is in contact with, so this is your driving gear and this is your driven gear. So for example, so this is again a spur gear, but this is driving and this is driven. And we know that we have seen similar computations in 471, where we see that the forces are transmitted through a specific angle. This is your contact force. This is that specific angle which we call a pressure angle. So because of that pressure angle, you have F tangential and F radial. This is your spur gear. So you guys are getting the specific schematic here that I'm drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just a shaft, and bearing A and B are basically the ball bearings that we need to select for the given parameters. The given parameters are that what is the specific distance from one end to the other. So this is, let's say, this is the same distance here. So having known this specific relationship, you can find what should be the reaction at the bearing end, isn't it? So I can basically calculate the reactions at the bearings location. Yeah. If this is your F radial, similarly, you need it for F tangential as well. Let's say I'm calling this as HP and HP. Obviously, I have not shown you the axis, so that is going to create confusion. And you just don't need to copy anything, just have to focus on the figure here just to make sure that you understand what we need to do. Because if you understand what is need to be done, and that is basically simply straightforward, simply supported beams, radial forces, tangential forces, you know how to compute the reaction. So everything you know how to do it. I'm just asking you to focus on the methodology, how the system works there. So, okay, X, we are drawing on the coordinate systems right now as V. So for our radial, it's easy. X, V. And for tangential, it will be X. Sorry, it is not X, it is YV here on this schematic, and here it will be X, and not down but up. Yeah. So with the coordinate systems that I have drawn here, are you guys agreeing to what I have represented so far in this schematic? Please let me know if it is making sense or not
Yes, it makes sense.
to everybody.
Yep, makes sense.
What about your coordinate system on the F radial thing that you drew?
This one.
Yeah.
So you are not following the coordinate system.
I mean, you drew the Y. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. So what I'm drawing here, I'm looking at this from this view. So on this view, if I do I'm basically looking at this gears, then this is basically the Y and Z component, and radial component is acting downward
Oh, yeah.
Z direction,
I see it
right?
now.
And coming back to the XZ plane, it is basically radial force in the downward Z direction. This is X direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Everybody is following it so far? If there are any, it's like the front and top. Correct. Thank you. So if you guys now are getting this whole schematic, then basically what you need to do is you have to find out those reactions at the bearing location A and B. So this is the XZ plane. I have the same bearing A. In the XZ plane, I got reaction force RA acting in the Z direction. And on the XY plane, I got reaction force represented by H subscript A and the bearing location. And you know how to calculate this. This is pretty straightforward. If you know what the radial force is, and I'm sure you know how to get the radial force. Radial force is basically can be obtained. I mean, if you know that this is the radius of your small gear, driving gear. So F tangential times R will be the torque transmitted. Torque to be transmitted. So if you know the radius, you know the torque, you can commit tangential force. Once you know tangential force, that is basically, and then you can calculate the radial force as well, because tangent of phi, the pressure angle, which is phi generally 20 degrees. Tangential of phi is basically F radial divided by F tangential. So you know how to calculate this. Everybody knows this. You can calculate radial force, you can calculate tangential force. Once you know the radial and tangential force, you can find the reactions because you know the distance from the support. So you actually know how to solve for the reaction forces. Now what we have to do from the bearing point of view, we have to look at this specific bearing location A. Now this specific bearing location, the bearing here is going to be, so this is A, bearing at A. This is your X, this is your Y, this is your Z-axis, and what this bearing is getting is reaction, radial reaction, RA in the XZ plane, and it is also getting HA on the XY plane. Are you guys following it so far?
Yes. I'm following.
Yeah.
Yep.
So both of these are radial components, are radial. These are basically acting in the radial direction. These are basically both these loads, both of them are contributing to the radial load. So what happens? The combined radial load at bearing location A would be what? Combined radial load at bearing location A can be found out by y. We just take a resultant of this, and it will be square root of SA square plus RA square. That will be your F desired value at A. Are you guys with me? You just take the resultant of these two radial loads. That's what your F desired at is. Now, why I'm saying F desired? Why I'm saying desired? Because this is derived from your torque to be transmitted. Remember, you are basically getting this F tangential, then from F radial, then you actually getting this RA and HA reaction. So everything that you are actually getting is derived from the desired value of the torque to be transmitted from the driving gear to driven gear. So for example, you want the torque to be transmitted as 100 kilonewton meters, or this even this torque is getting derived from the power to be transmitted, the desired power to be transmitted. The power, so let's say P is the power divided by omega, angular velocity. So this is in watts, this is in RPM or radian per second. Radian per second. Sorry for I'm scribbling down here basically. So torque is basically coming from this requirement, desired power to be transmitted divided by the angular velocity. From there you derive the torque, from there you derive the tangential force, from there you derive the radial forces, from there you derive the reaction forces at the bearing location, from there you derive the desired radial load at bearing location. This is how you actually get this desired F for a specific bearing location. Now on top of that, you provide additional considerations, additional constraints, additional design constraints. And what those additional design constraints are? My service life is going to be, let's say, 10,000 hours at 50 RPM. This is your service life. Another constraint is my reliability has to be 99%. R desired. This will give you L desired. This is R desired. Then on top of that, you say my packaging constraint is that I cannot go beyond, it has to be, outer diameter has to be less than 80 millimeters. So these are all these specific requirements that will be combined to get your C10 value. I mean, you take this one, you take this one, and you take this one. So you take these three stars and you combine them to find what your C10 value would be. And I have just shown you the expression for C10 a while ago, and it will basically calculate this C10. Calculate C10. How will you calculate that? If you remember this expression, F desired, X desired, R desired. If you know these are three values, you can plug in the numbers in this expression, you can get C10. Once you get C10, go to manufacturer's catalog. Go to manufacturer's catalog and select a bearing which satisfies this packaging constraint. Select a series of bearings to satisfy packaging constraint. Let me know if it makes sense to you. And that's how the bearings are selected, basically. Sure, I can move the paper out. So everything actually follows from our requirement of rated power to be transmitted. This is my rated power at a given angular velocity. From this requirement, I need to select a bearing. The bearings need to be selected based on the geometry of how far the gears are located. Because if it is equal distance from each other, then I know it is easy. If it is not, I just need to use bending moment, and moment equilibrium and force equilibrium equation to find my reaction. You guys know by now exactly how to calculate the reaction forces. Once you get the reaction forces, you combine them to get the desired radial load for location A. Same thing has to be done for location B. So desired for node for A, and then you have these additional constraints. I want my service life for this much duration. I want my reliability to be this much number. Combine all these three together to get C10. Go to the manufacturer's catalog, select a series of bearing, and see whether it matches the packaging constraint. If it is not, use different series of bearing, and that is how a bearing is selected for a given application. Let me know if you guys have any questions or anything that is not making sense so far. Are you guys following the methodology? The main point of showing this specific example here is to explain you the methodology behind the calculation, that how you actually get to this point of bearing selection when only thing that is known to you is this power at a given angle velocity.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So are you guys with me? Everybody?
Yeah, it's making sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just trying to write everything down.
Okay, so yeah, you can finish writing, and I'm sorry, I'm basically just running late in posting the videos in time. I still have to post the video of the lecture from the last week. I will do that soon, and we will post this one as well. So I believe our homework is due very soon, right? The next homework that is given to you.
We have it due on the 28th.
28. So that means we have time. So I need to show you the same methodology when it is not spur gears but helical gears. What will happen when you have helical gears? Because when you have helical gears, another thing that will come is axial load, the load in the x direction. So in this case, for the spur gears, you do not have any load in the x direction. You only have load in the radial and tangential, radial direction, tangential direction. Once you have helical gears, then you will have axial load as well. And because of that, our calculations will again become a bit more complicated, because now you will not have very simple expression for C10. So how to use axial load and combine that in these three requirements, we will see next week. So we will start with the same methodology, but not with spur gears, but helical gears. And we'll see how we can do the calculations and get to select a bearing which has not only the radial loads but also the load in the axial direction, in the x direction. But how to basically take that into consideration. So if we complete that example, then we will basically be ready with bearing selections for any application. Whenever you go and you have to work with bearing selection, you probably know what to do thereafter. But we will actually take that topic in our next lecture. Having said that, any question and concern so far, anything that you are not following or you are not able to understand? Okay, so if I am not hearing any questions from you, I will quickly recap what we have seen today, and then I will wrap up our discussion for today's lecture. So when we begin, we actually start with understanding the load-life relationship, reliability-life relationship, and the reliability load and life relationship. So when I say load-life, it is a constant reliability. Generally, the manufacturer values are given for 90% reliability rating. So the values that are reported are C10 for a given L10 life, which is 1 million revolutions, and the reliability is 90%. So this is basically what the manufacturer's catalog contains. These numbers, what manufacturer's catalog actually have. So if we have a desired load and life, we actually can combine them to find what our desired C10 would be. That is how we actually saw that. Now, next, what we saw is that if we need to have a relationship between reliability and life, then we actually solve that expression and get this expression, which actually tells us that if a reliability is given to us, desired reliability, it is not 90%, but more than that, then what should be my x, the dimensionless life nature. And it is just solving that we basically can get L desired from that. with this expression, what we did thereafter is we combined the reliability, load, and life relationship, and we actually saw that if we combine everything together, the desired load, desired life, and desired reliability, we actually can calculate theta. That's what we actually saw. And after that, the last thing we actually saw is the methodology of how to convert from the given requirements of the power, the angular velocity, to the torque, to the tangential force, to radial forces, the reactions, and the combined radial load at bearing location. And then we actually know how to calculate C10 and perform all the process that we actually saw in completing the package or completing the process of selecting a specific bearing from the manufacturer. That's what we actually saw so far. So with having said that, so I will wrap up our today's lecture for tonight. And if there are any questions, we will take it from here. So let me know if you guys have any questions. If not, then I will see you guys next time.